Hello everybody, welcome back. I have found the missing file. It just wasn't in its own folder. So this is turn 152. This is the last turn of BumbleRumble. And next turn Atlantis is going to win. Because he has successfully won this fight, and I was never in a position here where I could interfere with this. But let me put it this way. So I wasn't in a position where I could interfere with this. I could have, over the last 20 turns, made efforts to put myself in a better position so that I could interfere with this. So had I done that, that would have meant conflict with Atlantis. If I had had conflict with Atlantis, then Atlantis would have spent some of his effort not only doing this, but also interfering with me and with my conquest of Vanarus, and possibly taking these thrones here. So I am ending... So at the end of the day, that was not a more sure way for me to win, right? In terms of just raw number of thrones. If we look at the final count here, and don't worry guys, I'm going to show you this battle. Obviously I win. Come on guys, did you doubt the Army of Doom? At the final count, I control this throne now. I have moved this army into position to take this throne. I would need this throne and this throne, right? So I'd have to fight Atlantis, but I'd rather do it at the end. Here, my armies that have conquered Agartha have made their way to this border, so they could participate in this, battle, whatever is happening here. So we weren't that far off. This is absolutely, totally doable, right? I kind of consider this one a little bit in the pocket and this one in the pocket, in the sense that, now, Atlantis is huge and much more powerful than me, so he has many tools at his disposal that he can magic phase on top of these gateway armies, and right, so I'm not saying it's guaranteed that I had them, but at the end I wasn't too far behind. I was able in about, let's see, the war started on turn 123 or 133, I forget. So it took me about 20, I think it was 133. It took me about 20 turns to completely conquer. So, at the beginning of the late game, at the beginning of the late game, there were 3 remaining superpowers on land. There was Pythium, myself, and Vanarus, and Shiniyama was a little bit smaller. I had to conquer, this with me before my borders were kind of here. I had to conquer both other land superpowers to win. I got one of them. Not bad. This is basically a full conquest, right? I mean, his capital's here, but he's got nothing left. He had poured everything into defending this throne. So, you know what? Before we analyze too much at the whole map, let's look at this battle. So first he pokes his head out. Actually, the battle happens outside. Sorry. So yes, this happens first. He just kind of throws everything he has left at me. Yeah. This is our stuff. This is his stuff. So I showed you what I had last turn, or a couple turns ago. So we had... Well, you've seen most of these guys. What has been added is a bunch of these archdevils with a ton of fire gems. We've got our unfettered at the front with 1,000 hit points. Yep, that's a thing in Dominions. The Abomination, a few super combatants. Yeah, basically a bunch of tarts and some chaff in the back. Now, I knew that I know he's been accumulating a huge army, so I do have to be able to kill his super combatants, but I have guys because I've got Infernal Prison, so I can, if they aim correctly, take out a bunch of these guys pretty early on. But mainly, I needed an efficient way to just murder a ton of troops, which is why we bought all these fire dudes for Firestorm and just big fire evocations. We're going to do morale. We're going to get all the buffs, so let's get started. So, oh, and also, I had cast a few more rituals on this province before the battle started, including some Flames from the Sky and Melancholia to try to get some guys to run away. This, interestingly, has the effect... what's interesting that it sets it here, and I wonder if it actually impacts their morale. It doesn't look like it. The morale seems to be pretty high. Anyways, let's take a look at the battle. So Storm, like a bajillion things happen. All right, here come the first rounds of buffs. Okay, you can see this is the visual effect from Infernal Send to the Infernal Prison thing. He's also got a few guys that he has gotten from crossbreeding. So let's see, he's what kind of buffs have gone up? Well, he's got Sacreds. I'm not seeing a lot of battlefield buffs yet. Our guys, well, I haven't quite landed yet on our side either. Okay, now things are landed. Okay, so regen, will the Fates, Mist Form. Looks like her protection hasn't gone off yet. I'm pretty sure he's doing the same thing on his end. He's got his protection went off. He does have fire resistance cast, which is going to be useful for him. If we look up here, Grip of Winter, that was cast by probably him. We both cast Wailing Winds. Somebody cast Rigor Mortis. It might have been him. Might have been me, actually, now that I think about it. Okay, there goes my Army of Lead, Ground Army. Just waiting for a few more of these buffs to happen. Okay. Yeah, so our protection has gone off. Let's see, we've got Ravenous Swarm. So he cast that. That's pretty decent at killing big undead dudes. Light of the Northern Star, that was my cast. Looks like Relief, he cast that. So he's doing a bit of a fatigue play, I think, here. Meanwhile, this guy has 21 magic resistance, hundreds upon hundreds of hit points, and he just does not care. He is just charging forward. Got a bunch of these Slimers, devouring dudes, just chomping. Yeah, Infernal Prison. Unfortunately, we're not getting like his big sexy guys back here with Infernal Prison, but you know, we're getting some things. So he's casting a bit of Thunderstrikes, which is nice, except there's like too many dudes for Thunderstrikes. So let's see, Ravenous Swarm, Relief. So I cast Relief. Apparently we got a time stop here. Not sure whose time stop it was or why. I mean, it's an Archdevil who cast time stop, and I have the Astral Archdevil, so I don't remember that being part of the script, but apparently it was. So you can see the slow motion. Oh, this is the big fire evocation. Yeah, you're gonna see a bunch of those. This is actually pretty cool. It's like a cinematic movie. Master and Slave. Did I cast that? I don't remember scripting Master and Slave. What is this? How did we pull off a communion big enough? Huh. Okay. Apparently I was able to sneak in 12 communion slaves. And with 2 boosters. Only 2 boosters? Alright. Well, it's nice what you can do. So this guy had Astral 5? No. That seems too low. Oh, no, sorry. Okay. He has Astral 3. Got him to Astral... He's native, maybe Astral 3. 2 boosters gets him to Astral 5. Commune booster. He should be... and then Light of the Northern Star, maybe Power from the Spheres. Anyways, it was enough to cast Master and Slave, and I put some penetration gear on him. I had completely forgotten that we had that we're doing Master and Slave today, but we are. So that's cool. We got some mages in the back, no longer going to be casting spells. And this also basically has the effect of turning the whole army in on itself. Yeah, we just get like stuff all over the place here. I'd completely forgotten about that. Huh. I can't wait to see this fire land. Just in slow motion. I hope it lands while we still have slow motion. Now, he did cast fire resistance on everybody. I think there might be a second Master and Slave coming, because we had enough gems. Flamestorm. And... oh, that was pretty anticlimactic. Okay. Blood Rain. Pretty sure that's mine. We're putting up... so we've put up... yeah, here are battlefield evocations. So, you know, there were a few rounds of buffs. We've put up Flamestorm. Firestorm. We have put up... yeah, there's a Firestorm, Blood Rain. We've got Acid Storm up now. Oh, here are more fire evocations onto these front lines. And I think we're putting up... I think Pizzazu cast... there we go. Wrathful Skies. And I think that's it in terms of the battlefield enchantments. I mean, I'm not sure how much more you want. So let's see. We've got Storms, Wailing Winds on both sides. Firestorm, Acid Storm, and Wrathful Skies. Blood Rain, Relief on both sides. Rigor Mortis. I'm not sure whose Rigor Mortis it is. And so let's just look at that in all its beauty. Now if we look, let's look at like one of these units over here. Yeah, we're causing more routes than we're receiving. Does he have Will of the Fates up? No, he doesn't. Oh, something... oh, Blood Rain got cancelled somehow. Vampire must have died. Where's in this version, Unfettered appears to have switched sides. I do not remember that happening. Speed this up a little bit. You could just see like massive routing happening. Now, is this how it actually happened in the original game? I don't think so. I don't remember exactly. The result appears to be somewhat similar. Is unfettered now is back to being mine? Did we charm him back? I don't remember him changing sides in the original fight. Okay, so that's obviously a whole mess of a fight. Let's look at the report and let's talk about it. Oh, and then I guess I stormed the fort, right? Yeah. This is what we have left when we storm the fort, but, you know, he fought outside the fort mostly, so apparently we had enough for a second mass enslaved. Yeah. Yeah, so that just happens. Okay, let's look at these battle reports. This was in Spring Bay. Okay. So if we compare... okay, let's look at the mages that we actually brought, the final tally. So we had... a few buffing guys here. We had 3 Archdevils. They did a lot of work for us. We have... This is just an air death. I don't know what he was doing. Flame Spirit, more fire, Golem, Heliophagus, 14 Geomancers. We lose them, but they were there for the Mass Enslaved Communion, I guess. An Ivy King to buff. The Lord of the Plague Wind, he was doing very important air spells, including Wrathful Skies. And then about 8, maybe 10 Tartarians, 2 Vampire Lords, a White Oracle, and that's pretty much it for just my mages, right? And then in terms of chaff, there isn't much, but it's pretty high quality in the sense that we have a bunch of like corpse constructs and foul spawn that are all going to die. But mainly we have 5 siege golems and some ancient presences and, you know, this unfettered guy who apparently dies in the real version, which is sad. Okay. On the opposing team, Fairy Queen, Father Illerth, 2 Heliophagi, some Hydromancers, Ice Devils. Apparently he has some Geomancers. He must have charmed them from me at some point or seduced them. Leishi, a Lich, some Magi, Seeking, 5 Troll Kings, 10 Vampires, 24 Sages, some Vanabogs, Videmas, Vadens, and 2 Wraith Lords. And then in terms of his chaff, he's got like recruitable guys. He's got some corpse constructs. He's also got a ton of foul spawn of his own. Demon Knights, which are very strong blood summons. He's got a whole pile of undead. He's got 170 sacreds. And then a whole bunch more undead and some storm demons and stuff like that. So his chaff way outnumbers mine. So how do we win this battle? So the thing is, in the very late game, human troops are all going to have like 20 to 30 protection because of Army of Gold. And they're going to have mass regen, and they should have Will of the Fates. Mine did, his didn't. And they should have like 5 of each elemental resistance. So that like a fully buffed army. Now, they're probably going to have a buff to strength. So depending on the base chassis, that might be enough, but it might not be enough. So when you have 2 big armies like that clashing in front, it turns into a bit of a slapfest. So you need to have, if you're counting on your units to chew through the enemy line, you need to have a ton of air guys, of earth guys, doing weapons of sharpness. Okay, because the only way you can get through 28 protection, but even 20 protection on a dude like this is if your guy is doing, like this is not enough damage. This is just going to do chip damage, right? So this is one of his sacreds. And he's blessed and all that, and he's got 19 attack. He's going to hit very well, but he's doing 24 slashing damage, and it's not AP. And so one wolf, properly buffed, is going to survive a hit from this, and then next turn he's going to regen back to full, right? And worse than that, he's going to, the wolf is going to eat the hit, and even if it kills him, he's got Will of the Fates. So he's lucky. So 75% of the time it doesn't kill him, right? So you need to have weapons of sharpness. That's the first thing that he's missing. So if we compare these two armies, he's counting on his massive troops. I mean, he had like almost 200 sacreds here, a lot of quality summons. He's hoping his troops chew through my guys, right? But he needs to bring armor piercing, otherwise it's just not going to work. Now, the other thing is, the alternative is you bring shit like this, okay? You summon, like, yes, this is a very high quality troop. This is a blood summon, not the fell spawn. The, like, Demon Knights, very high quality troop, right? Kind of like my sacred, like 30 protection. This is awesome stuff. It has fear and all that. But HM presences are pretty special. We haven't talked about them much, but when they get fully buffed, they have 30% regen. But they have, it's like a base 200 hit point chassis. So that's 60 regen ticks. So and they have a blunt and pierce resistance, by the way. So the slashing swords could do a lot of damage. But these things are taking almost no damage, and they regen 60 per tick. And it's just one unit, okay? So this is the kind of unit, by the way, Tartarians, like bad Tartarians that have feeble-minded, that are just going to be used as chaff, is another kind of unit like this. Siege Golems are also another good unit like this. Sorry about that beep. Although they don't have the blunt immunities. So these are the kinds of units that cost like 20, 25, maybe 30 gems to summon. But they are worth their weight in, not gold, but in gems. Because these guys just stood in front and survived the whole, like they survived hundreds of fully, buffed other dudes. And they just take it like champions because they're regenerating. They're like super combatants, but they're units. They're regenerating 60 per turn. And they just eat damage for days. Now, importantly, also, they have Devour. And Devour just eats the dude. So it doesn't care that you have 30 protection. You just get eaten and then you're gone, right? So these are fantastic, fantastic units to bring to this kind of fight. Now, right on my side, this army of mine was not relying on my massive units to win. It was relying on mages and evocations, right? But I need to have units that are going to survive so my mages can cast all their stuff unfettered, right? And even if we look at the kind of damage that I'm doing with my evocations, I'm not actually, so let's fast forward through this a little bit. Like if we look, let's just take a look at, okay, something just, Blood Rain stopped now. I'm just going to click on like a random unit here, right? Like Thunder Strikes are landing. These units, I'm not actually, sorry about this annoying beeping camera on the side. My evocations are not, and Acid Rain and stuff, I'm not actually killing a lot of his units. But occasionally, chip damage is going to cause a unit to think, should I run or should I stay, right? Thunder Strikes, things like that. And combined with Wailing Winds and Blood Rain, the morale play is kind of the ultimate weapon. Because there are very limited ways that you can buff morale. You can do divine, you do fanaticism if you have a communion and get a holy guy up to holy 4. You could have berserk units, but if you do growing fury, then your mages also go berserk. And if you're putting up all of these battlefield spells, chances are they're going to take some chip damage from something and they'll stop casting useful spells. I see this guy just took 5 damage. He'd have gone berserk and stopped being useful. So it's very hard to combat morale. Reinvigoration, rigor mortis is good, but you can always cast relief and they basically cancel each other out, and your mages you can stack a lot of reinvigoration gear on them. So this is a morale play. Obviously Blood Rain and Wailing Winds is an important component of that, but you have to have their troops be under constant assault so that they do occasionally have the excuse to say, oh, I took some damage and I want to run away now. Late game, super late game human wars are very tricky. If we look at this kind of army, now I know here that I'm not fighting a big stack over there. If I was, I would be stacking up things like weapons of sharpness here for sure, right? Because here I'm relying on these guys to actually do the killing, which, they're good units. They can probably do it. But that kind of army is very vulnerable to flames from the sky and murdering winter and things like that. So we did it, guys. We got our throne, and so at the end of the day, we have 5 thrones. We didn't actually go ahead and attack this because we knew Atlantis was going to win next turn, so we didn't really... there's nothing left to be done. We could have potentially gotten a 6th throne here, a 7th throne here. So these are all things that are within reach, I think, for us. But I don't think victory was necessarily within reach. To me, probably the biggest failure or regret in this game was let me just say, I learned a lot. All the things that I know now about fighting in the late game, I learned basically playing this game and also in Black Swan, right? So these kinds of unit compositions that I'm using, these kinds of strategies, I started using them at turn 120, where I could have started using them on turn 90, right? So, of course, the Diplo would have been quite different, but in order to realistically win at around turn 150, which it turns out was the time it took for Atlantis to finally decide he was going to win, in order to pull that off, I would have had to start this war 30 turns earlier. And what was I doing all that time? I was fighting here against Atlantis. So, if I had... Did I delay Atlantis? Yes, in that I both caused him to try to use a lot of resources fighting me that he wasn't using to take over Relay at that time. And also, by being scary, Atlantis was... did not feel as confident sort of accelerating his plans for the late game, which was first take Relay, then Shiniyama's throne here, and then Pythium. He wanted to wait and build up power in order to feel safe from me. And partly that was because of the successful aggression that I was doing, in this area. Now, if I had successfully taken this throne, I don't know if I could have held it, but, I might feel... I underestimated how difficult it would be to fight against this amphibious nation through here. The geography just really sucked for us. Because I was very frustrated this game. I was never really able to contest Atlantis on land, which is obviously where I have the upper hand, right? Atlantis was able to secure these huge landholdings over here, and nobody was ever able to seriously contest them. I mean, Pythium tried and failed. And I was never able to get there, because all the fighting I did was like on the coast around here. And so, you know, geography happens, right? So that's okay. That was sort of a frustrating experience. Now, if I had sort of given up on this, maybe accepted like a border here with, near here with Atlantis, and then moved on to try to take on Vanarus earlier or Shinuyama earlier, maybe that would have resulted in some kind of race for thrones where I ended up being closer, right, to Atlantis in the final count. Like, I'm still 3 behind, so Atlantis is going to have 8 and I'm going to have 5. Although I think that these two are kind of... I could have done things slightly differently in the last few turns and actually taking them. So we're like either behind by 3 or behind by 1. If I had gone more aggressively on land sooner, potentially, we could have been in the running for an actual throne victory, beating Atlantis. That would have also triggered Atlantis maybe more actively trying to stop me. Atlantis was going for a throne victory, and there was really nothing I could do to stop him. And that's just the reality of playing against an underwater nation, right? I had the only thrones that I could stop him from getting are his land thrones, and they are here and here and here, over here, right? So completely out of reach, just impossible. I can't do anything about his land thrones. I can't do anything about his underwater thrones. So if I accepted that from the beginning, then I think the correct strategy is therefore, well, if you can't do anything about him, then you just got to do all you can about yourself. And I should have tried to conquer more thrones faster for myself. And that's maybe the decision I should have made. Now, I didn't quite believe that, right? So in the mid-game, I decided, no, I can do something about his land thrones. That was the whole point of this war over here, is that I believed that I could break through here and conquer... I was thinking I would conquer, push through here, get this throne, and maybe Pythium would be able to push through here and get that throne. And so my whole extended war against Atlantis was based on the premise that I could, in fact, affect his chances of winning, right, by taking some of his thrones. But that turned out not to be the case. I was not able to make that happen. And given that, the whole effort was a bit of a waste, because by doing that, it prevented me, or me devoting my energy and my resources in that attempt to influence, to take thrones from Atlantis, meant that I was not throwing my resources at taking these other thrones from Vanarus, which were my only other available thrones. Vanarus was always an easier target for me than Pythium. Pythium is another community nation like me. I had seen his first couple super weapon, like on turn 70 or 80, he deployed it against me. So it would have been much harder to fight through this choke point against that special trick. So to me, I guess it was always Vanarus or Shinuyama, but Shinuyama only had, like, I actually own both of these thrones. I conceded this to Shinuyama later, but again, this is about borders. Like, if I take this throne, I can take this throne at the last minute. I don't need to completely conquer the nation of Shinuyama to get the thrones from Shinuyama, because this throne is on my border. Whereas I have to completely defeat the nation of Vanarus to get his throne here. Right? His capital's right here. There's no way that I could just, at the end, just kind of fight a small limited border war to get his thrones. I needed to completely conquer the nation. So fighting a war against Shinuyama is a bit of a waste of time. I don't need to fight a full war against him. I only need to get a little bit of, tactical victories here to get this throne. Anyways, that's it. That's going to be for the series. Will I end up doing more commentary on this game at some point? It's possible, but unlikely, but I'll definitely try to do as much as I can in comments, especially on Lucid's playthrough, and I'll answer your questions, of course. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you guys shortly in another video, another series. I've got a lot of things coming up, so see you guys then. Take care.